This is Miss Humbert here, and today we're going to be doing Unit 1, Notes 5. So we're going to be talking about slope-intercept form, which is one of 3 forms that we're going to use for graphing and writing equations. So let's go ahead and let's start by taking a look at slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form takes the form y is equal to mx plus b. M represents the slope, b represents the y-intercept. So what is the slope? Well, we talked about the slope a little bit on our last note sheet. So our slope was rise over run. Okay, we talked about it that way. Sometimes people even look at it as change in y, so how much you're going up or down over change in x. And then there's that formula, the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the formula that we worked on the last worksheet. Okay, so what is the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. Now remember that the y-axis is the up and down one. It's the y value where x is equal to 0. Okay, so when do we use it? We use it to graph linear equations. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing today, is graphing linear equations. So let's remember what we talked about when we have vertical versus horizontal line. So what happens when we have a vertical line? Well, when we have a vertical line, it's going to take the form of x equals. So as you can see, the equation here is x is equal to 3. So you'll notice that it crosses the x-axis at 3, and then there's a vertical line going through it. Now remember that if it is a vertical line, the slope itself is undefined. Then here we have a horizontal line. You'll notice that horizontal line takes the form of y equals. And along with being y equals, it's not set equal to anything. Or it doesn't have, sorry, it's set equal to a number. It's not set equal to an x. Okay, so it's just strictly y is equal to 2, so you'll notice that it crosses the y-axis at 2, and then that it is a horizontal line thereafter. So let's take some practice with this slope-intercept form. So we want to write the following in slope-intercept form. So to do that, remember we're going to use the form y is equal to mx plus b. So our m is -2, so we're going to be plugging that in for m. Our b is 2, so we're going to be plugging that in for 2. When you're using slope-intercept form, the y and the x will always be in the equation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take m out, and I'm going to put -2 in instead. Remember that the x is going to stay there. Then I'm going to take b out, and I'm going to put 2 in instead. So I get that y is equal to a -2x plus 2. And that's slope-intercept form. So then let's take a look at number 2. Again, y is equal to mx plus b. My slope is 4/3, so I plug that in for m. And my y-intercept is represented by b, which is -4. So now I'm going to plug those in. So I get y is equal to, now instead of writing m, I'm going to write the slope, which is 4/3 x, and then -4. So y is equal to 4/3 x and then -4. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at number 3. And we're going to graph that. So we're going to write the equation. So first of all, we see that we're crossing the y-axis at -2. So since we're crossing the y-axis at -2, that means that my slope is -2. So b is equal to -2. Now I want to find another point. So it looks like it's crossing a corner again right here. You could use this point if you want, but I like to pick a point as close as possible. So we're crossing at that point right there. So we want to count how many we're going up. So we're going up 1, 2, 3, and we're going over 1, 2. So since we went up 3, it's going to be a +3 divided by 2, because that's how many we went over. So now we can plug that into the form y is equal to mx plus b. So I have y, and then instead of writing m, I'm going to write 3/2 and then x. And then I need to write plus a -2 for my y-intercept. But if you want to, you could also write this as x minus 2. You can write it as plus a -2, like I did here, or you could write it as strictly subtraction, so -2. That's fine too. Let's take a look at number 4. So for number 4, we're crossing the y-axis at 1. So that means that b is equal to 1. And then we're going down 1, 2, and over 1, 2, 3. Well, since we're going down, it's going to be negative. So we're going down 2, and then we're going right 3. So we can go ahead and plug that in. So y is equal to m, which is negative 2/3, and then x, and then plus b, which is 1. So that's your slope-intercept form right there. Next, let's go ahead and let's take a look at number 3. So we need to graph the following equation. So now we need to pull some pieces out. Well, I see that my b is 4. That number that's being added on, that represents my y-intercept. So I know that I'm crossing the y-axis at 4. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that point at 4 right there. So I'm crossing the y-axis there at 4. And then I see that my slope, the thing that's being multiplied by the x, is negative 3. Now, negative 3 can also be written as negative 3 over 1. So if you ever have just a number, you can make it a fraction by putting it over 1. So from that y-intercept that I just graphed, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, and over 1, and I'm going to plot that point. Then, to make my line, I'm going to go ahead and connect those 2 points. And now I have a beautiful, beautiful line. Let's take a look at number 6. So for number 6, we're crossing the y-axis at negative 2. And then our slope, which is being multiplied by the x, is 2 over 1. Okay, remember if it's just a number, that's the same as 2 over 1. So we're crossing the y-axis at negative 2. So that's going to be right here. So then, from that point, we're going up 2 and over 1. Since this is positive, we're going up. So I'm going up 2 and over 1 and plotting that point. So now I can go ahead and I can connect those lines, and I get that for number 6. Now, let's take a look at number 7. So for number 7, my b, or my y-intercept, is negative 2 because that's the number that's being added on there. My slope is going to be 2/3, which means I'm going up 2 over 3. So I'm crossing the y-axis at negative 2. Right here is the y-axis, and I'm crossing at negative 2. So then from there, I'm going up 2 and over 1, 2, 3, and plotting that point there. Then I'm going to connect those 2 points to make a line, and oh my, it is pretty, okay? Last but not least, let's take a look at number 8. So for number 8, you're crossing the y-axis at 4 because that's the number that's being added on. Your slope is a negative 1/2. So we're crossing the y-axis at 4. That's right here. And then I'm going down 1 and over 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect those dots. And I have my line. Last but not least, let's go ahead and let's take a look at matching these equations. So we want to match them with the graph. For me, the easiest way to do that is to identify the y-intercepts of each of those problems and find the corresponding y-intercept on the graph below. So if you take a look at number 9, it says plus 5, which means it's crossing the y-axis at plus 5. This one looks like it's crossing the y-axis at a negative 1. So b needs to equal negative 1 for that one. This one is crossing the y-axis at a negative 5. So b will have to equal negative 5 for that graph. And here it's crossing the y-axis at a positive 5. So here we have that it needs to cross with a positive 5, and here it does cross with a positive 5, which means 9, the answer is C. Taking a look at 10, we're crossing at a negative 5, which means that this one has a negative 5, so this is B. Well, by process of elimination, we've used C, we use B, so 11 is going to have to be A. So that concludes your note video for today. Go ahead and show me completed note sheet when you're done, and please make sure you're asking questions as you have them. Thanks for listening.